Against an empty carriage at the end of the lonely hall were three imposing ponies, leaning in a disinterested and bored pose. One of them happened to look up as the sorry-looking trio stumbled on into the open. They were on the bottom edge of the Colosseum, with the vast rolling hills and plains of Equestria visible far below. "Hey, boss, you got some of them worthless Pegasus," the first one called, at an even bigger pony on the other side of the carriage. "I suppose it's a get of work time, is it? Cool it, hotshot. Or maybe more, too." No. I was the last student to go." Scootaloo spoke in sobs. Orion could only hang his head. It's... She paused, and then breathed deeply, determined to remain as strong as she could. "It's just us three. Aurora's rings, they're broken. She needs help. Ain't that just a crying shame, it is? What's it to us? All the better she don't come flying back to us no more. May have failed our damn test, but that doesn't mean we're not worth keeping alive," Scootaloo shouted in a flash of rage. She was determined to hold as much dignity as she could. All right. Hey, Patches, doctor her up before we head out. I don't want any blood on them seats. I just washed that thing. You ought to too, in the cart." Orion and Scootaloo hopped into the carriage and got as comfortable as they could on the hard seats, but made sure leaving room for Aurora. As soon as the largest of the third ponies finished bandaging her wings, Aurora carefully stepped onto the vehicle and lay down on the bench at the back. Scootaloo inched closer to her and leaned down to talk as the door of the carriage slammed shut. The boss pony was inside the back, standing by the door watching each of them. "So," Scootaloo began quietly, trying not to speak too loud, "You're Aurora. I'm Scootaloo. I'm sorry we had to meet like this." "Any meeting of a friend is a welcome meeting," Aurora spoke gently, with sincerity in her eyes. "We did our best. That's all we can say. That's all any of us can say. Who's to say that the city of the deported isn't a good one, anyways?" The thought struck Scootaloo as she considered it. No one was ever told about where the Pegasi were brought. Most ponies considered it to be some odd land, like where the zebras hailed from. That made Scootaloo realize something even more profound. Hey, if where we're taken is where Zikora's from, then there's got to be a way to get back. It's not as if we're banned from Equestria. Fluttershy, an old friend of mine, she's a Pegasus who lives in Ponyville. She never passed flight school. She never took her test. They'd never come to take her away. "Exactly," Aurora agreed with a nod. Orion overheard and offered his thoughts. "I think the reason we're sent far away is because no pony from Cloudsdale ever wants to admit that someone who failed flight school could come from a city. What a horrible place. Now that I think of it, I never want to go back. Maybe that's why no Pegasus ever comes back. They just don't like Cloudsdale." "You goddamn worthless ponies can hardly call yourself Pegasus," Boss spoke from the door. He was swaying ever so slightly as the carriage was lifted and moved to an unknown location. "Useless failures is what you are. No pony comes back from exile, regardless of reason. Can't patch a goddamn test. You three make me sick." Scootaloo jumped up from her seat, lifted herself into the air with her wings, and dove legs first at the boss. "You shut the hell up about us. You have no right to treat others like this." Boss raised a hoof and backhanded Scootaloo out of the air, onto the floor. "I can treat you however I want. You hardly classify as ponies to Cloudsdale, or any of Equestria for that matter. Now sit down and shut up until we get to the destination. We're being taken anyway. Not like we can tell anyone now. And I'm sure as the deliverers, you should know." Orion cautiously reasoned. "Hell if I know. We hand the carriage off to ponies in suits, and we get bags full of coins to keep quiet about the whole thing. It's how it's always been for 1,000 years. The three fillies huddled together again, scared in the unknown. They kept quiet as they waited through the unbearable trip, all lost in their own thoughts. Friends, family, loved ones, and pets. All will never see them again, and some will never find out why. An hour passed, and then another. The uncomfortable quiet was broken by a sudden lurch as the carriage stopped in its flight. "Ah," Boss smiled. "There's my stop. Ponies play nice now. Have fun and wherever the hell you're sent to." The carriage door shuffled open, and Boss hopped out with a gust of cold wind. It was night outside now, with hardly any light to see at all. Scootaloo stared outside, and noticed another figure staring in. It was dressed in a black suit, its eyes staring indifferently at the three ponies inside. They stopped on Scootaloo momentarily, and recognizing, but she stared back. A second passed. The dark pony slammed the doors shut, and the carriage took off once again. At least we can talk now, Aurora whispered in the dark. But they had nothing to talk about.
Great things comes with great responsibility. Out of Clarksdale's being